You know that feeling when you confide in someone about a massive life dilemma, only to be hit with, just be yourself or follow your heart? Yeah, we've all been there, right? You're about to walk into, say, the most complex job interview of your life, and your uncle's profound advice is basically a bumper sticker. It completely misses the mark. We live in a world that's just overflowing with cheap opinions, where everyone seems to have a quick fix for your deepest problems. But what if there was an entirely different approach? A structured, scientific discipline dedicated not to throwing platitudes at you, but to actually giving you the architecture to figure it out yourself? Well, welcome to this explainer. We're going to dive right into the fascinating shift from just handing out casual advice to practicing the rigorous, structured science of guidance.
So what does it actually mean to guide someone? I mean, often our default setting is to assume guidance means grabbing the steering wheel and violently directing someone down a specific path. We do this because, honestly, it's just so much easier to tell people what to do than to patiently help them figure it out on their own. But as we explore the source material today, I really want to challenge that assumption. We're going to move completely away from the idea of dictating actions. Instead, we'll look at what true, foundational guidance looks like in practice, and why handing over the keys is infinitely more powerful than driving the car yourself. Here's our roadmap for today. First, defining true guidance. Second, why schools need guidance. Third, the ultimate objectives. And fourth, the core principles of guidance. Let's get into it. Section 1. Defining true guidance. So, what exactly is it? The foundation of our understanding starts right here. According to our sources, guidance is formally defined as the organized assistance given to an individual in trouble, helping them understand their problems and deal with them intelligently. Notice that key phrase. It's an organized assistance program. It involves a matured, experienced person assisting a less experienced one. But the ultimate goal? Empowering self-direction. Think of that classic teach a man to fish analogy, but let's modernize it a bit. Guidance isn't about solving a complicated thousand-piece puzzle for someone while they just sit there and watch. It's about teaching them how to recognize the edge pieces, how to group the colors, and how to build the framework themselves. It equips you with the cognitive tools to solve your own puzzles long after the mentor has left the room. This really brilliantly illustrates the core philosophy, which is captured perfectly in a quote by Skinner. Guidance is a process of helping young persons learn to adjust to self, to others, and to circumstances. Let's break that down for a second because it goes way beyond just, picking the right college major or a career path. It is fundamentally about teaching adjustment. You have to understand who you are, adjusting to self. You have to understand your social setting, adjusting to others. And you have to be radically resilient, adjusting to circumstances. Think about the modern reality of navigating a sudden career pivot in your 30s or adapting to some major life shift. The ability to dynamically adjust to changing circumstances is, without a doubt, the most vital survival skill we can learn. Which brings us to a really crucial distinction. We're moving out of the realm of friendly suggestions and into something much more specialized. Because when problems get highly complex, like deciphering complicated career paths, overcoming deep emotional hurdles, or navigating systemic educational barriers, friendly suggestions completely fall apart. We really need to separate that casual advice from formalized guidance. Because let's face it, when the stakes are high, a simple pat on the back just isn't enough. We need specialized, organized services designed to systematically untangle the mess. Guidance is such a fascinating dichotomy. On one hand, it's an art that requires deep human empathy. It requires a delicate touch, recognizing profound individual differences, and carefully promoting a person's self-direction without overpowering them. But then, on the other hand, it's a hard science. It relies on rigorous testing, specialized educational data, psychological insights, and empirical vocational placement strategies. It's this beautifully balanced system of human connection backed up by hard data. It really proves that you don't have to choose between being empathetic and being analytical. True guidance literally demands both. This system also possesses a few essential traits that act as profound revelations. First, guidance is a continuous, lifelong process. It's not some once-for-all activity. It is always goal-oriented, life-related, and meant for all. And by all, I mean not just those who are visibly struggling, but absolutely everyone. It's incredibly freeing to realize that guidance isn't just a band-aid you apply when you're having a bad week, It's a permanent tool for continuous growth. And at its core, it constantly promotes that vital ability of self-direction, making sure you're always the active author of your own story. Section 2. Why schools need guidance. The student crucible. Just think back to your own school days for a moment. Do you remember the overwhelming pressure, the dizzying array of educational choices, the crushing social anxiety, the emotional hurdles of just trying to fit in? Well, today, that pressure is magnified tenfold. A modern student faces a sheer volume of academic, social, and digital pressures that can be entirely paralyzing. The school environment is basically a crucible of human development. Our sources make it urgently clear that guidance in schools is not some optional luxury or fun extracurricular perk. It's the absolute catalyst needed for the total development of the student. It helps them recognize and deploy their own inner resources to not just survive, but truly thrive. And it acts as an interconnected ecosystem rather than just isolated benefits. It starts internally with personal growth, tackling emotional problems, and developing a healthy, resilient personality. That foundational stability then spills over into the academic and career side of things. It enables students to prepare practically for the future, critically minimizing the mismatch between talent and employment so we aren't wasting human potential. And when individuals thrive on that level, the entire school environment stabilizes. A structured program actually minimizes the incidence of indiscipline and checks educational wastage. It's like a domino effect. If you solve the emotional piece, the vocational and systemic issues naturally align. Section 3. The ultimate objectives. What are we actually aiming for? It's really easy to think of guidance as a purely individualistic pursuit, right? Like just helping one specific person feel better, pass a test, or secure a job. But the objectives outlined in our source material go much, much further. Successful guidance creates a profound ripple effect. When it's done right, it extends far beyond the individual and directly impacts the world they live in. Honestly, it's actually quite rare to find a discipline that focuses so intentionally on both the micro level of the individual and the macro level of society at the exact same time. There's a beautiful duality to these objectives. On one hand, the goal is to do the maximum good to himself, making the individual intimately aware of their inherent potentials, their talents and capabilities, while assisting in a balanced physical, mental, and emotional development. But here's the magic. When we focus on unlocking that person's inherent potential, we inadvertently achieve the maximum good to society. By developing these abilities, the person makes a significantly more useful contribution to the world around them. They become capable of solving complex problems and rapidly changing social situations. An adjusted, self-reliant individual naturally elevates the entire community. Section 4. Core Principles of Guidance. The Rules of Engagement. To achieve these lofty objectives, the process simply cannot be arbitrary. Because we're dealing with human lives, vulnerable emotions, and unpredictable futures, the stakes are incredibly high. These principles form a rigid ethical framework. They act as the absolute guardrails of guidance to ensure that while the program is highly organized and scientific, the human being is never, ever reduced to just a data point on a spreadsheet. So let's look at the philosophy that actually governs this practice. It all begins with one supreme truth, the undeniable dignity and worth of the individual. Everything flows from that fundamental respect. Because of that dignity, we have to acknowledge that no two individuals are alike, meaning there is absolutely no one-size-fits-all template or cookie-cutter solution here. To protect these vulnerable individuals, the entire practice is bound by a rigid code of ethics. And finally, this isn't some VIP service meant only for the elite or the highly troubled. It is an integral, flexible system that's designed for everyone. The individual needs continuous guidance from early childhood through adulthood. That right there is the foundational truth of the entire discipline. As we shift from childhood to adolescence and then navigate the endless complexities of adulthood, our need for self-realization doesn't just stop, it evolves. The challenges simply change shape. Guidance is that faithful companion that walks beside us through every single one of the shifting stages, constantly recalibrating to help us achieve self-reliance, no matter our age. So as we wrap up this explainer, I really want to leave you with a final thought. If guidance is indeed a continuous, lifelong blend of art and science meant to foster ultimate self-direction, who is providing that architecture in your life right now? Who is helping you see the edge pieces of your puzzle? And perhaps more importantly, armed with this framework, who are you guiding? Think about it. The architecture is there. It's time to start building.